Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be going over my Supercoach team for AFL Supercoach and my predictions for AFL Round 3 and the results of AFL Round 2 and the matchups in the Supercoach League. We'll be starting off in the defence. I don't really like this defense anymore going into the season. It sounded a lot better. So Shannon Hearn's been inconsistent. He has got 2 tons here, but the 89 game plus the 109, he had to have a pretty big fourth quarter to get up to that ton. Although that was against Collingwood, and Collingwood did have the ball in the forward 50 a fair bit in that game. Alex Weatherden is just not working. Went into the season thinking he was going to be it, and so far hasn't even cracked the 100 yet, which is pretty disappointing. Partly because of just how Brisbane's been. They've been a pretty strong offensive team, so the ball hasn't really ended up in their back 50 all that much, even though they gave up a lot of points last week to Port Adelaide, I believe. I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, against Port. They did give up 90 points, so you'd think that the defenders would have had a couple more touches of the ball, but it just hasn't ended up that way. So he's sort of on the chopping block, but that's a matter that's not for this week. The 90s, I'm guessing, just have to put up with for a while because can't afford Jake Lloyd at this time. He's about like 620k, so it's a bit out of the price range. Zach Williams he's been alright. For his price, he came in at about 413 ish. This is the first week that he's cracked over 100, but he was close last week, and I think he did get robbed a little bit. He should have got a ton last week. And in the Essendon game, he kind of just didn't show up. He wasn't there for that first game. But yeah, no issues with him. He's been alright so far. Darcy Moore, pretty much the hidden pick of the so far of the season. Came in without too big a pick percentage. Just reading a couple of forums and seeing that he's healthy and stuff like that. Went out on a limb and picked him, and so far, you look at the scores and you think that's nothing special, but for his price, who was originally like 250 or 230, it's a good contribution for someone at that price, and he still should go up a lot more than this. His break even's not that high, and for someone that's averaging around 80, his price should still have a fair bit of growth to it. Sam Collins had that disgusting first week of only 27, but he has picked up. He's not the worst defensive rookie there is. Missed out on Rosie for him, which is really gutting because Rosie's going off this year. But you can't just dwell on that. Just got to put up with it now. It's too late to go to Rosie as well. Jordan Clark's been alright, but nothing special. It's only 69, 66, 65. It's pretty much just exactly what you'd expect from a rookie. His price will keep going up, but of the 6, he's probably the first one to drop. Actually, Dersma might come in and then Clark goes to the bench. Scrimshaw's been off and on. 56, 79 and 64. 79 was actually a not too bad game, or was at that game. He did get he was showing up across the field, but he just has a tendency to just run around, and he ends up on the wrong side of the field to the ball. It's maybe a little bit of bad luck and just maybe a little bit of a misplacement from him. He just runs to the wrong side. Dersma so far he's been alright. 67, 78, 66. It's not rosy, but it's not the worst. And he's so far. Last week was his lowest score, but it depends on how he and Wines and Drew all manage to work together in the Port team. Hopefully, there's no huge issue because his scoring's not been too bad. Same with Butters. Butters has so far became the best of the three of the Port trio. But, yeah, Dersman's not too bad. There's not really any problems in the defense besides Hearn's inconsistencies, but then he's still getting lucky and having the big games. 109, it's not too bad. But Witherden, he needs to pick up pretty fast. As for the midfield, Fife's out with a concussion, so he won't be playing this week. Tempted to trade him, but also logic says to hold him. You probably shouldn't trade any promo that's just out for 1 week this early in the season when he's already averaging 111. That's what's that? That's, I guess that would have to be a top 10 average right now in the season. Cripps has been amazing, which everyone predicted, and they knew that he'd come off a hot year last year and just keep going. He's not going to get 157 every week, but he's a constant vice captain or captain option for everyone. This week I'm going to captain Cripps. He's got Gold Coast, and I don't see anyone tagging that great from Gold Coast. Tookmiller can't tag, so Cripps should be able to go off. Maybe not from 157, but a 130 or 140 game wouldn't be the worst. Stefan Coniglio, he's been on and off this year. Came in with the red hot round 154, but then he got tagged into a 52, and then against Richmond with Josh Kelly back, with Tim Taranto in the midfield, only 102 score, which is a bit disappointing. I expect him to be able to keep up a pretty high average, but it's just not working out. But he still looks like he's fine to be in the midfield. It's just a bit disappointing to what I predicted to come from him. Jago O'Meara was kind of one of the picks I thought with Tom Mitchell, I mean. He should have been able to pick up, and last week he did get robbed a little bit. It was the 11 clangers that held him back. At least he did have 31 touches, 12 tackles, as they say, but yeah, the 11 clangers, it's not good. Really held the score down. But saying that, 105, 104, the 104 was against the Dogs, and he did get robbed at the end because of a bad free giveaway. So there should have been at least like a 108 game, closing in on 110. The North game, I guess, everyone has to have a bad game at some point in the season. Not too sure on his break even. I believe it's about 110. It's still manageable for him to hit. Like I said, he did get robbed in the Dogs game, so I do believe he could reach 110. But he's probably not there. He's probably not staying for the year. He's probably the first one to go. Oh no, he's not the first one to go. Taranto's definitely the first one to go. He had a good week this week, but it's kind of just how long can you bite the bullet before trading him? He has had 2 112s, and you'd be saying like it'd be stupid to trade him, but it's just not going to keep up. Ward's back this week. Josh Kelly's been back a week. I expect Coniglio to pick back up again. I just don't see this keeping up. He's obviously the odd man out in the midfield. If he gets chucked forward, then it's pretty much game over. He's not going to score. If he did have that forward DPP in Supercoach, he'd probably be one of the locks of the year. But at this rate, he just doesn't have it, and I don't see them adding it in at any point. They haven't really added in any players, given them DPP mid-season, which is a bit of a shame. They should be able to update the game. Dom Sheed, who everyone came in with him and everyone thought it was a meme, but he's really been proving me wrong through the GLT for round 1. So far hasn't fallen under 100, even though it was close. But that game he should have got a lot higher. He was robbed a little bit. He's really been a star so far. for West Coast. But with Gaff back, I'd like to see how his scoring's going. It's probably untradeable at this point till he reaches around about 500k, which is pretty believable that he's going to reach that. It's not that much of a stretch. Yeah, Dom Sheed's been amazing. Him versus Taranto. Taranto would definitely be gone by the time Dom Sheed's in. By the time I'm even thinking about trading Dom Sheed, I mean. Diego Mira probably be gone. So, his price could rise up to about 520. But considering he's dropped this week, I'm not too sure on how fast it's going to be rising. Hopefully his scores just become consistent. He consist 100 plus every week. Then he can just stay, probably be like the last on the mid team, on the mid side. Butters has been, I'd like to say, the second best rookie that I've picked. Constable's number one, obviously, is a gun. He's helping Geelong win. So far they're undefeated this year, and Constable's been a really big reason for that. But Butters has been pretty good in his own right. His only issue is now how is he going to cope with the return of Wines. Robbie Gray's out still, I believe. I don't know if it was only a 1 week injury. It might be multiple weeks. These two, there's not really much to comment about them, besides they're both guns and they're both really standing out this class. I'd say the only one I'm missing out is Rosie, but 2 of 3 isn't the worst. Setterfield has been completely disappointing. He's probably been one of the worst rookies, him and Gibbons, which quite surprising considering the hype behind them. These 2 guys are just not good, and they need to be traded out, I guess, as soon as possible at this point. Actually, this week I was going to go Taranto out, and Setterfield might be out next week. This week it's going to be Setterfield. It's going to be Taranto out for, so far, the gun of the season, the pick of the season. People would say the pick of the season is Lachie Neale, but that's when I look at picks, I look at people that low price and high output. Let's say so far that would be Tom Liberatore. Put out a 150 last week. He's put out a 150. He's put out a 128. Besides round 1, where you could just say maybe he was getting back to match fitness. He's been 128 for a guy that was like 330k or even less. He was 300k. This is a gun player who's pretty must-have now, and the last week anyone can really bring him in. I guess you could bring him in next week, but you'd be losing heaps of money on bringing him in. Bontempelli is someone to keep on a watch list. He so far hasn't had a bad game. That 97, I don't know, it's kind of an outlier game. He did play alright. It's just didn't have the Supercoach score. I guess it was just these, I don't know, I just didn't want to give him the points for that game, which is somehow how it goes. But 158 against Sydney, 124 against Gold Coast. He's playing a lot of mid-time this year. He's not getting chucked forward, which is to everyone's surprise, or to everyone's delight, I should say. They're keeping Dunkley forward. Hopefully Dunkley doesn't struggle, and then that ends up with Bontempelli going forward. So that would ruin a lot of teams. But so far he's only got a 6.2 ownership percentage. So far it's just a really good pod to have, and someone everyone should have kept on a watch list, just to see maybe if before he hits 600k you should look to bring him in. Probably not this week, maybe next week for O'Meara. That's a possible trade. For the rucks, I did make the huge misdecision in thinking that Grundy would fall off a little bit more than he did. He only had the round 1 mishap, and then he's came back to full strength. He's gotten 2 130s back to back. His break even's 130, but he's probably going to break that. Went with Goldstein, who had that horrible week of 66. He had a good first half, or first quarter, I believe, and then he just didn't show up for the rest of the game, that was disheartening. It was horrible. It's pretty much the reason he's dropped in price. But at this point, you're pretty much locked into either you keep him or you trade to, say, like Ben McElvoy or Steph Martin, but then you're locked to them. You're not really going to trade up again in your rucks. So I'm just going to wait on him. Only a little bit off Grundy's price, I believe. Yeah, only a little bit off, only 8k off. Hopefully Grundy does fall a little bit again, or he should fall at least 8k, and Goldstein shouldn't fall that much. And it'll be a trade probably happen next week, because Grundy is a must-have. Gawn's going to be interesting this week. So, Melbourne just announced that Pruis is going to be playing. I'm hoping that doesn't mean Gawn becomes a forward, or it becomes dual rucking duty, like a 50-50 ruck duty. That would pretty much ruin Gawn's scoring. He'd probably go back to just being a mediocre ruckman. Dangerfield, pretty much everyone's vice captain or captain option, is one of the most reliable players in Supercoach. There's not too much to talk about besides he's doing what he always does. Heaney, a lot of people traded him out and they're feeling the burn for it now. After the first 2 weeks, it shows never trade your promos too early before you. I always go by 3 games. You need 3 games of evidence before you trade someone. Because like if Billings has had 2 80s, but now he's scoring 100. I mean, there's a huge difference between Heaney and Billings, but if it was Billings who had 200 games, people would rush to bring him in. If Heaney has 2 bad games, they rush to trade him out. It's just don't rush into stuff. Always look at the 3rd game, because if say Billings has 100, and then a 40 or a 50, you've just traded out your promo for someone who's probably not going to come back. Billings is one of the most. He's a player that's a trap. You can either bring him in and he sucks, or he's very Rockcliffe-like. But yeah, Heaney, everyone who kept him, they did a good job in keeping him. I kept him. Everyone who traded him out, it's a sore blow. Yeah, Jack Billings, I picked him up, thought he can't be as bad as last year, surely not. He is one of the better forwards in AFL. He does get a fair bit of mid-time. Like, by a fair bit, I mean he spends most of the game in the mids. If he can kick a couple goals, that means his score goes way up. Yeah, he is a good player. He just had a bad start to last year. Hopefully he does keep the mid-time, though. Warple I brought in last week, or the week before, I believe. No, yes, I believe it was last week I brought him in. The scoring between O'Meara and Warple has pretty much been split at this point. I'm hoping it does become one-sided and one of them just picks up and goes off, and I'll just keep them. It's kind of like survival of the fittest between the two. Which one stays and which one goes. One will stay because one of them's got to be carrying the Hawks. But yeah, it's just a take both, so you can't get screwed out of it. But looks like Henderson's doing all the scoring for the Hawks at the moment, which should look to change it. There's no way that's keeping up. Drew had a bad week this week. 36. That's with Wine's return, but he's had a 103 and a 90. So this is what I was saying, don't overreact to one game. Next game, if it's still bad, then maybe look to trade him. But the forward rookies this year, it's just not been much to look at. They've been pretty disappointing. Parker's been alright, Drew's been good. Setterfield's rubbish. Bolter's been rubbish. Petroselli, I've seen him live. All he does is run. He's not really that great an AFL player. Yeah, it's a bad year for forwards. I think it's a better year for defenders than forwards. It's just been rough. Same thing to say around Parker, Petroselli and Bolter. It's just you have to take a chance on who you're playing. If you haven't got Rosie in your forwards, it's just take a bet and roll a dice. Yeah, that's it for the team recap. With that one trade, leaves me 27 left because I've already made 3 trades because I began with Callum Mills in defence. He had to go. And I can't remember. Supercoach is glitching out on the side here. So I can't check who I traded out. Oh no, history's up here now. No, that's only showing scores, trade history. Yes, it was Mills in, Wookie out for Dersma and Warple. In hindsight, definitely would have been better to bring in Rosie. I don't know why I didn't think of it. I think it was just a scroll past his name and brain wasn't working at the time. Yeah, like so far, the team's not been horrible. I do wish for just a reset button because I'm locked into a lot of places. Like it's very hard to get employed in defense, and it's very hard to bring in another top tier forward. Like I would like to bring Boak in sooner rather than later because he's been really good this season. Probably the best forward outside Danger, who I still consider a midfielder. Yeah, not too much to worry about. 5 will be back. Eventually I'll get Neil in somehow, whether that means O'Meara out, Canelio out, or just build up the cash and eventually make the buy. Goldstein's been annoying. Yeah, it's not the worst. As for matchups, last week I did lose my matchup, in a matchup I definitely should have been able to win. The one issue that stopped me from winning was Constable being on my bench. Definitely should have been on the field. And did Dersma outscore? I believe Dersma outscored Collins. No, Collins did outscore him. But yeah, I do wish I had Constable on field. It was just I had him on field all week. I'd made a mock trade to see how I'd like it. Then I undid it. And by undoing it, it puts all the players back on your bench. So just forgot to do it the second time, and it really burned me. Hoping not to make that mistake again this season. Check the team, triple check, and Setterfield's 37 really lost me the game. His 37 versus Rosie's 116. That really ruined it. Because this really was a winnable matchup. But can't dwell on that. It's only one game, it's at the start of the season. This week I should be able to win. He's in second, he's 1-0, I'm 0-1. But Tom, considering, of course, because I can't see his trades yet, the luck hasn't begun. If he keeps Tom McDonald on field, it should be pretty easy. He's only projected for a 65. Oliver's been on and off all season, so there is a chance that he doesn't get a ton, but it's likely, so I'm predicting a ton from him. Jake Lloyd, the best defender in Supercoach, 2 years running. Easily beats out all the defenders I have. Grundy and Andrews. Andrews is... was it him that had a... Yeah, he had a horrible week last week, only 40. Kind of a disappointment for everyone that brought him in last week, thinking he was a pod pick. I guess he could pick it up, but everyone's hoping he does, and I low-key hope he does, because I need someone to bring in for that D6 as a pod. Dersma, I've got him. Laird. Laird's been underperforming all year. Not too sure on why. It might just be the way Adelaide's playing leading to his scoring. I haven't watched that much of Adelaide footy. Yeah, I'm not too sure on why he's scoring so low, but he should be able to pick up. He's a pretty consistent 115 scorer. He was the second best defender last year. Walsh, I didn't pick him. I went Billings. I went Sheed over him. So far, my pick's been working, but I guess there's more money to be made on Walsh, so it's a coin flip on which one was better. Cripps, everyone likes him. Steele's a weird pick. He's tagging now, so he shouldn't be scoring that high. Even saying that, he tagged last week and still got an 85, so it's not, it's not it's not impossible for him to tag and still get like a 90, which is not the worst score in the world. But consider my team if you're just to go matchup for matchup. I believe O'Meara is better than Steele. Cripps beats Warple. Billings, Walsh. Saints have Hawthorn. They have Gold Coast. I say Walsh is better. Collins, Laird wins. But this is Dursmo on bench. Should I keep him on bench? No, I might field him for Clark. Yeah, this just in. Yeah, bring him in. Yeah, that adds one more. McDonald for Heaney. Heaney's obviously better. McDonald's been horrible this year. He's probably at risk of getting dropped, to be honest. Like, he's not providing that much, and Melbourne haven't won a game, I believe, yet. Did they win on the weekend? I'm not too sure. No, I believe they lost to Essendon, even though they kept coming back, making it a close game, but they kept losing. They did end up losing to Essendon. Constable Oliver is actually closer than a lot of people would think, because he did get the 99 last week, and was to say he gets a 99, Oliver gets a 95. Witherden, Lloyd wins at... Who's his second ruck? Oh, it means that is bench defender. No, he must have had Hall playing last week, did he? Yeah, and he Lipon. Oh, he brought in Clark's score. Yeah, I should be able to win this matchup in this league. In the next league, this matchup should be pretty easy as well. The team's not that great. If he was to bring in someone like Neil for Dunkley, that would probably seal the game in his favour. Brayshaw's been a gun. I wouldn't trade him. I'd like to trade him in, but if I was him, I wouldn't trade Brayshaw. He's obviously not playing Hoare. Clark as well. Everyone's doing that Hoare to Clark. I did see Grundy gone. It's just the risk I've taken. It's probably going to lead to more losses this year. He did have a horror week last week. It looks like only just breaking 2,000. Brodie Smith, he's someone that a lot of people got to trade out now. He's just not performing. His price is going to keep going up slowly, but it's just not what people want. Scrimshaw, Cripps, Fife, Whitfield's been a gun. Crisp had one bad week, but it's nothing to overreact to. McRae's picked up where he was last year, probably the third best midfielder in the game. Yeah, 2 of 2 is not impossible, but I do expect only 1 of 2. I expect to lose that second matchup I just showed. Yeah, that's about it for this video. Be showing again next week, showing the recap of the scores and the review for the next week. Alright, see ya.